and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Yay! Another week is here, but there's not a whole lot of different announcements to make about the Dice Tower. I'll say today at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be doing a live Q&A, so you can go start asking questions for that now. And other than that, well, I just got a lot of different things to get into in this episode. We've got a lot of great segments, including a song for you. So let's get started with the news. I'll start out by saying that the Dice Tower cruise is more than 50% full at this point, and the numbers are going down quickly. So if you're going to do that, think about that soon, because it will sell out probably within a few weeks. Also, if Dan King, who used to be part of the Dice Tower, is now on his own, doing his own channel, he's running a Kickstarter for that. So if you appreciated him while he was here and would like to see him continue where he's at, I recommend that you go look at his Kickstarter and consider supporting him. All right, for the news. First of all, from the Dice Tower Essentials, Dice Tower Essential number 4 game was announced at the New York Toy Fair, and that is Speechless. The first game, Sheriff of Nottingham. The second game, Onitama, which would hit stores in March. The third game is Royals, which you'll see sometime in the first half of this year. And then Speechless, which will come out very close to the same time as Royals. Speechless is a party game from Mike Elliott. It's kind of charades, basically, where you get up and you're trying to get people to guess different words. They're not really that hard, but the fact is that people are writing down their answers and will likely get them wrong. But if my wrong answer matches somebody else's wrong answer, you know, you're pretending to be a farmer and we both think that you are being a plumber, we will both get a point because wrong answers in this game can be right. So I thought it was an interesting take on a very fun style party game, so that will be coming soon. All right, Cryptozoic. There's really a lot of different news and announcements, so we're not going to do all of it in this episode, but we'll talk about some companies. First, Cryptozoic has announced some things that are coming out. The Crisis Expansion Pack number 3 for the DC deck building game, which is still going strong, and it looks like of all the different versions of this deck building game, the DC one remains the most popular. They have another expansion coming for their Adventure Time Card Wars. This one is Fiona vs. Cake. This was actually a fun little back and forth Magic maybe style game that they actually played in the show. They're also coming out with Internal Affairs, which has to do with the Triad and versus the Police. And then this one I think a lot of people are probably going to get just for theme alone, and that's the Cartoon Network Crossover Crisis, which is going to have lots of different characters fighting villains from lots of the different universes, including Adventure Time, the regular show, Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. There's a lot of different characters, and I think people will like that. Whether the game is good or not, we'll find out. They're also starting a line of Mighty Meeples. These are thematically based meeples, Superman and Batman and things like that. So that's interesting. Meeple Source has been like the main person making different kinds of meeples. Cryptozoic is now moving into that territory with licensed meeples. There's a new convention in the UK called Strategy, which is honestly not a very good name for convention, but whatever. This one's being run by MCM Central, August 25th to 28th. So this is interesting. We'll see how many of these bigger conventions, well, we'll see if this one takes off, first of all, but how many of these bigger conventions will be in the UK. Gen Con, speaking of these conventions, sent out a survey this past week where they basically asked people and said, hey, would you like another show? When would you like it? And where would you like it? So that's interesting. They're going to make another show, when and where. So if you're watching this, when you want to pick spring and you want to pick Orlando. Who knows where it will end up. But Orlando was one of the cities, so we can hope, right? Let's see. Hasbro is going to be making multiple versions of their Pie Face game. Big surprise there. And Upper Deck has several announcements. First of all, expansion for Legendary, Marvel Legendary, about Deadpool. Shocking! And then another whole Deadpool board game on its own, which, you know, we don't know any details about that, but that sounds interesting. I'll try to find out more information next month. Shark Island by Pete Shirey, who loves sharks, and then Richard Launius, the great designer of things like Arkham Horror and games with lots of theme. And more Versus is coming this year from Upper Deck. So that's just some of the news. There's really a lot. In Kickstarter, there's a ton of news too, so let's get to it.
Happy breakfast, everybody. Let's take a look at what's happening in our crowdfunding world today. Codex from Sterling Games is a customizable card game with a deck building element to it. Players keep their available cards in a binder that they can then add to their deck later as they battle each other with heroes and creatures. There is also an interesting defense element to the game because there's a patrol zone and there are bonuses that are attached to a card's location there. Sterling is known for games with asymmetrical powers that they work very hard to balance, and balance and resilience are two of the guiding principles in this game as well. Codex has 3 primary pledge levels, so maybe there's one that's right for you. Coming from Flatline Games, Argo is a dungeon crawl style game set in space in which you play humans trying to survive an alien attack and escape in the shuttles. This isn't the most original story for a game, but with a design team like Bruno Faiduti and Sergei Laget, there are a few twists, including the puzzly element with the tile lane and the player interaction, especially in the way the humans can push each other around the board. The aliens actually have their own scoring mechanism as well, and for a player to win, you actually have to have a higher score than the aliens by the end of the game. A pledge of €30 will get you a copy of the game, which includes some minis, but be aware this does not include the shipping costs that will be charged to you at a later date. For those of you who like to snazz up your games, Draw Lab is bringing us Season 2 of their Metal Gaming coins. There are a bunch of new sets to choose from, including Cyberpunk and Cthulhu, and because Vikings seem to be all the rage right now, there's a cool Vikings set too. You can also pick up coins from Season 1 in this Kickstarter, but be aware that the pledge levels do not include the shipping costs, so those will be added in later. There is a shipping cost estimate at the bottom of the page. Siege of Sunfall is a beautiful new game set in a post-apocalyptic universe in which players kind of have to work together to stave off waves of raiders by contributing soldiers to a fight. The trick is, through the blind bidding process, is to add just the right number of fighters, because any soldiers that you manage to keep behind by the end of the round are converted into points. There's also a light action selection and set collection element to the game, but the heart of it is really in that blind bidding and bluffing play. The look of Siege of Sunfall is really cool, and the minimum pledge to get a copy is $29. Walk on Fire is coming to the US from Green Couch Games. In this dexterity and set collection game, players get to use a spatula card to flip over ingredient cards. The art is goofy and cute, and the gameplay is quick and light, making this a great game for families with kids or for groups of grown-ups who like games like Rhino Hero or Maximum Throwdown. A copy of the game is a $15 pledge in the US. And for those of you who've been looking for an anime deck builder that doesn't involve scantily clad maids, the English version of Heart of Crown is being kickstarted by Japanime Games. Players are competing to ensure their favorite princess takes the throne in gameplay that follows the standards of a lot of good deck builders. Japanime is also creating a PC version of the game that can be added onto any pledge. Heart of Crown's been available in Japan for a few years now, and there are already a number of expansions available there, so you should be able to expect the English version of the game to grow pretty quickly. A pledge of $50 will get you a copy of the base game. Okay, that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you for watching. Until next week, play all the games.
So, unless you exclusively play cooperative games, eventually you're going to have to deal with the fact that someone is the winner and someone is the loser. Now, I don't want to sit here and give a long 7-part series about how gaming is a microcosm for life, especially since I already did that last year, and it was awesome, but I did want to say a few words on the subject of sportsmanship. Though, of course, in our hobby, maybe a more accurate term would be gamesmanship. I think we all are familiar with the concept of being a sore loser. We all know that it's bad when you lose to just sit there and pout and flip the table and just play on your phone and ignoring everyone very passive-aggressively like I did that one time I played in the Age of the Dragon. We all know that that's wrong. We all know you shouldn't act like this.
Jack, what are you doing here?
Making this work. Look, I brought some dinner and Monopoly. We can have a fun, low-key night unless I lose.
That is sweet.
But being a sore winner is even worse. You shouldn't mock your opponents or gloat or get really smug about how much better you did than them. My attitude has always been, if you win, you should act as though it was a pleasant surprise, and if you lose, you should act as though you welcome the change of pace. See, that's the attitude of gamesmanship we should all adopt. If we do that, our gaming experiences will be better, our friendships will be stronger, and our tables will remain unflipped. Remember, we all bring happiness to our fellow gamers. Either we bring it with us when we come to the table, or we leave it behind us when we leave. May we all be the former. Amen.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
And we're here to answer a question today from Shane. Shane loves games. He plays them with his wife and young son, but they're not really interested in heavier games, and he really wants to play heavier games. So his question to us is, he wants to go out and meet people to play heavy games with. How do we meet those people? How did you meet your closest gaming partners?
Well, let's see. How did I meet my closest gaming partners? Well, Tom's my closest gaming partner now, and I met him through friends in New York who introduced me.
I ever meet those friends?
Mike Fitzgerald, do you know him?
I will now. That is it, Mike. All your games are getting reviewed negatively.
He said to me, he goes, "Oh, there's this great guy, Tom Vasel. I used to do voiceovers for him. You should go down and game with him." And that was the start of this beautiful friendship.
But let's say before that, okay? How did you meet all the guys in New York?
Well, what happened was I was gaming in college, and when I was in college, there was obviously a board game group, and that's how I got into it in college. But when I went back to New York, I looked up online and tried to see where gaming groups were. I got in touch with people. My first gaming group in Long Island actually was buying something from someone, and he said, "Oh, you're in Long Island?" He said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Where are you?" And I said, "Rockland County." And he said, "Well, we have a gaming group. Why don't you come by?" And I was like, "Perfect." And that's how I ran into him. So you never know where you're going to meet people, whether it's if you're buying something from someone online, if you look through Board Game Geek at different addresses, if you look at Meetup. Our Meetup has a lot of people on it. I know a lot of them don't show up, and there's way more people on the Meetup than actually show up.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But Meetup is a good way to do it, and there's lots of ways to meet people.
Right. Meetup, Jason mentioned that. And if you don't have a Meetup, you might even consider starting a Meetup. Although Meetup does cost money every year to run that. But Meetup is an interesting thing because you might get people that way. Facebook sometimes works. Even Board Game Geek has things split into different areas of the country. So you could just go there and say, "Hey, I live in such and such an area." Now, you may have to drive up to an hour maybe away to meet some gamers. But if you're going to do it every once in a while, that's not too bad. But online is an excellent tool. I have no idea how we met before online. You used to have to go to the store and put like a little thick flyer there, playing board games Tuesday night, and then show up and hope other people show up too.
See, my store when I was in New York was a complete strategist, and they had a board game night, and they had board game days on some Saturdays where you just knew all the board gamers would show up, and it was like scheduled board gaming, sort of like we do at Cool Stuff now. We have
right, but not
scheduled
everyone
board
has
gaming.
one of these amazing stores around.
No.
So if you don't, then you're going to have to go online, I think.
Yeah, driving's not so bad. I mean, it's funny. It takes me 45 minutes or an hour, or like today it took me an hour and 50 minutes because I had to make a stop along the way.
Well, once again, I'd like to point out that most of Jason's answers are tinted by his insanity. So you cannot necessarily go about them.
But in New York, when I used to drive across, I had to cut through the city and go to Long Island. It sometimes take me an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I would drive it because it's nice to get together with good people who want to game, and to find good people and be able to game with them is tough to do. So if you do find some, latch on and make a nice group out of it.
All righty. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
We need more questions. Send us more questions at dicetower@gmail.com.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how it doesn't always take a major game makeover to make games better. Sometimes minor component upgrades can have major impact on games. And I'm going to give you a 1-for-4 deal today. I'm going to show you minor component upgrades to these 4 games and how they can impact the quality of a game and how many times that game comes to the table. The 4 games are Jamaica, Steampunk Rally, On Her Majesty's Service, and Kingsport Festival. The change I made to Jamaica was I switched out the ships. These metal ships I found online, and I can't remember what game I got them out of, but they worked perfectly for this because I was able to paint them the same color, and now you have the big ships going around the board. This is Kingsport Festival. The component upgrade I did to this game was actually a component downgrade. These monster tiles take up too much table space for how important they are to the game. I transferred the image onto these 4-inch tiles that are laser cut balsamic birchwood. They're thick and they don't move around the table as much. This is Steampunk Rally. I backed this game on Kickstarter, and I like this game a lot. It's a lot of fun, but these little 5-inch tiles that came with it, well, I decided to put the graphic on an 8-inch tile instead. That gives it more room on the table and easier to see. One of my favorite accessories that I backed on Kickstarter was called Tinker Gear Coins. The Tinker Gear Coins are a perfect accessory to use in this game because of the steampunk theme. Another Kickstarter game I got in the mail this past year, it's called On Her Majesty's Service. It's a fantastic game, and it has a steampunk theme, which means these Tinker Gear Coins fit in perfectly, and they're easy to replace these plastic coins that came with them. And I picked up this little treasure chest off of eBay, and sure enough, all the coins fit in, and I can keep them in the box and just keep everything nice and shiny, and it's fun to play with, and it has great visual appeal. Thanks for joining me on the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hi, welcome to Painting 101. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about one of the hardest things to paint on a miniature, and that's the eyes. So let's see how to do it and head down to the table. Okay, so here we have our miniature, and wait a minute, it's not that simple. Let's back up a few steps before we even try it on a miniature. Now, painting something that small and going right to a miniature could be hard for a beginner. What I like to do is take a paint bottle and just go in half and then bring it up and make the mark there. So as you can see, this is the area that we're going to be working into. So now what I like to do is just make my eyes smaller and smaller and just practice the actual shape, starting from the top of the lid and working down and getting that good oval shape. And a lot of times it takes me a little bit to get it, but practicing on paper is a lot better than messing up on your model. And I'll just keep working my way down until I feel I have the shape and I'm ready to do the model itself. This way, getting some kind of repetition and memory repetition into how you move your brush and feel the feel of actually painting in the eye. By doing this, this is great practice, and this is only one type of eye. There's so many different types of eyes, like anime eyes and so forth and so on, that we'll be going over in the coming weeks. Also, the do's and don'ts on doing some eyes and trying not to make the person look crazy. Before we tackle the model, we want to be able to have good recognition on how to create an eye, and that's what we'll be covering over the next couple of weeks. So in the meantime, get out your papers and your bottles and draw some ovals and practice your eyes. Until next week, I'm Rob Orrin, and be sure to join Sam and I on battling brushes each and every week.
The biggest thing this week is Board Game Blender. If you've never watched Board Game Blender, I implore you, go check it out. It is Z running a show very similar to Board Game Breakfast, but with his own spin on it. It has like a theme each time it comes out, and that's a great show. So that's coming out Thursday. I'll continue my Alpha Best Top 10 this week, the letter A, and we'll have a lot of different reviews for you. Me and Jason will be taking a look at Torres and the very new Through the Ages, the reprint of that. The newest expansion for Legendary, Steamworks, Escape, and a Mega Man. And of course, Z and Sam and Rob and Chaz. Lots of different videos coming out this week. And of course, I mentioned my Q&A coming later today. We might do some other Q&As this week, so keep an eye out for them. So anyway, also lots of podcasts. If you'd like to listen to stuff about games, the Dice Tower runs an audio podcast, and so do many others that are all part of the Dice Tower network. And you can find all that information, find out the newest podcasts, what games they're talking about, on our website at dicetower.com.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and recently I have been discussing the universe of intellectual properties that originated in board games and what has happened when some of them have tried to cross over into books, movies, and television. Let's discuss several universes that originated in board games that just may have what it takes to cross over to other forms of entertainment. Let's start with the game that was not only number 1 on my list, but also the most frequently suggested board game from last episode's comments. Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium. This game was the viewer's primary pick for the big screen treatment from the comments. So, do I think that Twilight Imperium would make a good movie? Well, no. I mean, it's close, but no. I think a better vehicle for Twilight Imperium would actually be as a grandiose 5-season television series in the vein of Babylon 5, where the series' entire multi-season story arc has been determined in advance, giving it a pre-planned beginning, middle, and end. With that approach, I think Twilight Imperium could really, really shine. But the one game that was on my list that nobody else mentioned was One Night Ultimate Werewolf. This could be a potentially worthy successor to the Clue movie from the 80s. I mean, no, really, think about it. One Night Ultimate Werewolf provides a plot, a setting, and a cast of characters, each already with their own quirks and motivation. But if a studio was willing to risk producing a movie based on this board game, I think the odds would actually be pulled in their favor even more by pushing the envelope even further by making it a CG animated movie that retains the game's art style and humor while amping up its cartoony violence with a story that adults can appreciate as much as, if not even more than, the kids. Like Survivor taking place in the Bugs and Daffy cartoon Rabbit Fire. All right, we've talked about board games that have crossed over to movies and TV, and movies and TV that have already made the leap over to board games. Well, next time, I'll celebrate my 100th Head in the Clouds segment by treating myself to an unabashed YouTube rant, bringing the discussion full circle by revealing the #1 universe from other media that I absolutely positively yearn to see adapted to board game form. Join me to see what this IP from movies and TV could possibly be.
Adam Dork of NTBG, and I got a new installment of
The Notorious Beards and Gaming.
This time the beards I'm looking at come from Lord of Seethe. It's a 3 to 5 player programming game where you roam the country lands and steal people from their villages to sacrifice them to giants and other monsters. I swear you're the good guy. I swear.
This time we're not going to focus on the player character or the intricacies like last game, but the actual tokens, the people you collect.
What I want to focus on are the clerics. Look at this guy. He ain't taking nothing from anyone except the intricacies because you can steal him. But he got a nice straight beard. And he's bald, which kind of brings out the beard, kind of like Z. But it's a very nice beard shape, classic design. You really can't go wrong with this. The Cleric from Lords of Seethe. That's been this week's Notorious Beards in Gaming. If you like what you heard, comment, follow, like, all that good stuff. And yeah, play this. It's fun. Let's play some games.
Which one should I play? Oh! Hello, Internet. Welcome back to the Game Plan. I'm Andrew Cohen. So over the last few episodes, I talked about 2 great games, Madden 16 and Pandemic Legacy, and the similarities that they share. At the end of the last episode, I asked a question. So what? Well, these are both great games, some of my favorite games of all time. But I find myself wanting to play Madden more often than I want to play Pandemic Legacy. And I don't think it's because Madden 16 is a video game, or because it has different ways to play, or because it's a solo experience and I don't need to rely on other people's schedules. I don't think it's that at all. With Pandemic, we're in October. We're in the home stretch. We're almost there. We've played 11 games. It's pretty good. And over the first month, we played 9 games. And over the past 2 months, we've played only 2. And we do intend to finish it. But recently, we haven't played Pandemic. Instead, we've played other board games. And I don't think it's because of the newness of the Legacy stuff wearing out. I don't think it's that at all. I also don't think it's because we feel that this is base Pandemic with expansion pieces. I don't think it's that. I think what it comes down to is burnout. So, have you experienced a Pandemic Legacy burnout? If not, I'd be curious to see how frequently you played through it so that this wouldn't happen. Was the end of the game just as exciting as the beginning of the game for you? Either way, leave comments down below. Until next time, this is Andrew Cohen, and this has been The Game Plan.
Hello, Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele again, and today, in the best and the worst, we are talking about lanterns. Yeah, lanterns. Let's talk about it. My favorite part on Lanterns, the Harvest Festival, is that everybody is involved. It's a tile laying game, and when I place this tile, for an example, it matches orange here and matches pink here. So I would get, for an example, for matching the orange card, for matching the pink, get this one. And this is pointing to me, I would get an additional white. However, the player who's sitting there get a pink card, the player who's sitting there get an orange card, and the other player gets a red card. So everybody is involved on every single turn and gets some benefit out of every single turn. That's super good. I really like that. The flip side of that game is that you cannot really prepare or even think about your turn. When it comes to you, you have the choice out of 3 tiles. Take a look where on the board you get the most benefit when you're placing your tile, the most cards out of it, and technically that's it. You can make the decision of making a dedication, so cash in your cards for victory points, but technically that's all of your decisions on your turn, so you don't have a huge variety on decisions you can make. Okay, thanks for watching, and please give me your best and your worst for Lanterns. See you next time. Bye bye. Niels, Cyril's Brettspiele.
Folks, this past week I was at Prototype Con, which was a convention in Orlando, which was a convention for people to come and show their prototypes off to other people and play each other's games, give each other feedback, and a few publishers showed up and looked at games, and I kind of went and looked for Dice Tower Essentials. I didn't look really hard because prototype conventions are a very unique thing. Parts of it are interesting to me, but there's a lot of really bad prototypes at these conventions, and not everyone wants to hear that. No one wants to hear their prototypes bad. It's not fun to give people negative feedback, but I won't argue that these are useful things. But one of the things we did there was we did a full panel talking of several designers and publishers talking about games, and I'm going to have that full panel posted later on this week where you can hear the different opinions there. But one of the things that came up there, and I want to expound on it, was pitching your game to a publisher. Now, I'm someone who gets pitched to these days for games that are in the Dice Tower Essentials line. And also, I've talked to a lot of publishers and a lot of designers about this. And so I'm going to miss some things here, but I want to give you some tips. Let's say you're someone and you want to pitch your game to a publisher. Here are some tips that you should follow. Now, first of all, we're going to assume that we're talking about normal game publishers. We're not talking about Hasbro or Mattel or these really giant ones where you have to go through layers to get to those companies. We're talking about board game publishers that you might run across. Now, you have to realize that many board game publishers are not taking submissions. They have either stables of designers or designer people that they know, and they go to those people for games. They're not just taking open submissions, so you need to find that out first. But if you do find a publisher who's taking submissions, the best thing to do is to schedule a time to show them your prototype. It's best to do that usually at some sort of convention, and it's best to do it ahead of time at the convention itself. They may already have their schedule filled up, but you definitely should schedule it. You do not want to stop them in the middle of a street or while they're busy selling a game to someone or whatever and say, I need to show you a game right now. That's not going to go over well. Think about time. Time is critical and important, and you want to show them respect, so definitely schedule it in. You also want to be mindful of the publisher. First of all, find the right publisher. If you're making a war game, you're not going to go show it to Playroom Entertainment. If you're making a children's game, you're probably not going to show it to Fantasy Flight. Maybe you got to figure out the right publisher who is making the type of game that you are going to show off. And be mindful again of the publisher's time. You're going in, you have a set time. Don't waste their time. Get right to the point and show them the game. Quick, speed, faster is better, faster is better, faster is better. There's a mantra I say all the time to different people, because when someone comes up to me and they say, can I tell you about my game? They need to be able to do so in 2 minutes, maybe 3 if I'm feeling good. But really, because you may think that your game needs 10 minutes to be explained, and maybe it needs it to be explained in full, but if you can't throw a short pitch about your game, people aren't going to take a look at it. You need to be quick and get that out there. You also need to talk about the game. Don't say why you came up with the idea and your long journey there, or the fact that people love it in other places and blah, blah, blah. Just go over the game. You don't need to go into great detail on the history of soap making, and that's why I decided to make a game about making soap. That sounds interesting, actually. But you need to go in here and give a short pitch without using other games. Don't come in and say, hey, this game's kind of like Ticket to Ride and Monopoly. Oh, this game's kind of a riff on Citadels. No, come in here and explain. You can use board gaming terms to explain your game. That's actually a good thing, that the publisher will understand those terms and see how the game goes. And you need to explain what makes your game special and interesting. It's not... I mean, I tell you, publishers are turned off if you come in and say, this is Monopoly, but better. This is such and such a game, but bigger. That means nothing, okay? Don't come in with some rip-off type of game off another one. Even if you are using mechanisms from other games, which is perfectly fine, come in and present it as if it's its own game. And don't brag about this game. Do not come in and say, this is a Monopoly killer. Everyone who has played this has loved it. Well, no kidding. You're going to want to say good things about your games, but we don't believe that. Okay? We don't really care if everyone you played it with loves it. What we care about is, does it sound like something that's interesting and that we're willing to publish? Now, this being said, many publishers will likely tell you no, so you need to accept that. Listen to any criticism they might give you, file that away, and work on it. Maybe bring it back to the same publisher if you think they're a good fit and you've changed things, or maybe when the next publisher you go to, you can take some ideas into effect or listen to what they say. It is not fun to hear people come at you when you're pitching a thing and they say, you know what, I'm not really interested in a game about this. And you're like, oh man, no, that's okay. That's a lack of a waste of time, and you can go find someone who is interested in making a game about that particular subject. And maybe they might say, hey, do you have a chance to see it? Then have a nice prototype ready to go, ready to show them. But that should be the second thing. You should be able to pitch the game first and then show it to them. But if you pull it out and say, oh, you should see the special character that Captain Jogovaga has. No, we don't really care about Captain Jogovaga. You need to pitch and give me an idea of this game quickly. So those are some ideas. I'm sure other people might want to chime in the comments on good ideas and maybe bad ideas for pitches that can help you when you're pitching a game to a publisher. Perhaps one day you will be pitching a game to me or to another publisher, and I hope it goes well for you. But if it does not, we keep going on and moving on, because there are so many great games, and what a wonderful hobby it is.
Hey everybody, Steve here, back with another AFR 2-minute drill. So this past Friday, pitchers and catchers reported for spring training in Florida and Arizona, and so I thought I'd highlight some of the baseball games that have released the past 2015 season for their games. First up, over at Play.com, they have the 2015 Pro Season, as well as the 2016 Fictional Baseball America set available for their History Maker baseball game. Over at Replay Games, they have the 2015 season available both for the board game version and the PC version of their Replay baseball game, as well as having an e-team book available for download. Over at Sideline Strategy Games, they have the 2015 season available as well for their Payoff Pitch baseball game. That's available as a PDF download. And then finally, over at FTP Sports, not only have they released the 2015 season for their Dugout Steps baseball game, but they also are currently having a 33% off sale for anything in their catalog by using the promo code Pitchers and Catchers when you check out. Alright everybody, that is all for now. To keep up with all of the news in the sports board game world, make sure you tune in to the After Further Review channel every Tuesday evening. And until next time, my name is Steve. Get out there, have fun, play games, and I'll see you after further review.
Hey folks, we talk about a lot of different gaming accessories on this show, from meeples to coins. There's all sorts of different things that you will see. Alright, you know what? I'm tired of this. This has been going on for 30 episodes. This, by the way, is Holly Vasel. Welcome to the show. And this here is a mask from Trick or Treat Studios. Now you might be wondering why we've been showing these masks off for so many board game breakfasts in a row. And I've been waiting for the payoff, and that is this particular mask. Now this particular mask is one of the characters from Mice and Mystics. Yes, that's right, Trick or Treat Studios contacted me, and they're making a line of masks that are based on different characters from board games. And I'm really excited about this. I've been working and showing them different characters I thought would make a good idea. So this one here is from Mice and Mystics. We have another one here from Mice and Mystics. So you can see both of these here. And this one here is from Summoner Wars. This is Frick, the Goblin. Here, put that one on. Now, their masks are like incredibly good quality. In fact, some of their masks are used at the Universal Studios Haunted Hollywood Nights because they're that good. We've been having a lot of fun with them here at home. Well, Jimmy is not a fan of them, but you like them, right? And I mean, we've been using them for a long time for various things. They're a lot of great. So if you want to go trick-or-treating with a board game mask, you can do so. Or if you want to mess up your father's videos by dancing in the background, I suppose you could do that too, right? Yes. Well, thank you, Frick. Anyhow, I really enjoy these. They are super high quality. They look really good. And I bet some of you have kids who love Mice and Mystics. Well, now here's a chance for them to be one of the heroes from that game. Today we're taking a look at some coins. This is Legendary Metal coins. These are currently on Kickstarter. This is their Season 2. And so they sent me a sample of some of the coins. These are your basic unit coins. I could see using these, depending if you wanted to, to play with just some basic coins. Then what do we got here? We got some Viking coins. These are good. Although I wouldn't mind if these had numbers on them. I guess, you can just say 1, 5s, and 10s. But they still look pretty good. Then we got Cthulhu coins. I guess Cthulhu is minting coins? I'm not sure if this thematically makes sense, but if you love Cthulhu and you definitely want to have money in your games, let's say Arkham Horror, and use these instead of the dollar bills there, then you'll use those. Egyptian coins. This is probably, of the set, these are probably the ones I think I would want to use the most. But we also have Roman coins. I like these. They look really good. Although, again, the Romans actually have some coins. We know what their Roman coins look like, so maybe you'd want something different than that. Or here we have Spartan coins, which are similar to the Roman coins. And then we finally have some cyber kind of coins. This is kind of odd because you think cyber, in a cyber society, we wouldn't be actually using coins at this point. But these still look pretty good. I like the shape, and I don't know anybody else who's making metal of these type of coins. So overall, when I look at these coins, they're good. I would think very carefully. I wouldn't get all of them. Maybe there's a game I specifically would want to add stuff to. I think of all the ones here, maybe I like the Spartan ones the best. I especially like how this one here is kind of fading away. But the Egyptian ones I would use too. I don't know. So if you like metal coins, these are good quality coins. There is a lot of these coin Kickstarters that go on, so this is nothing super unique, but these are good designs, and you can find that that's Legendary Metal coins.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Elegance is a quality the best board games have, and I don't think you can overestimate the value of elegance and simplicity in a board game. Tsuro fits the elegance definition to a T in real life, but does the board game app deserve that praise as well? Let's take a quick look. The beauty and simplicity of Tsuro means it's on a lot of gamer shelves. Players lay tiles that have a myriad of paths on them, and there are 2 path entrances on each side. When a player puts a tile in front of their dragonstone, that dragon and any other dragons that now connect with that tile will follow the path in front of them to the end. The game is won by the last dragon standing after all the other players have collided or run off the edge of the board. The Tsuro app does a wonderful job bringing the Tsuro experience to iOS. There are thoughtful little details like a box lid lifting and pithy little thoughts that pop up for each AI player. The interface is intuitive and leverages touch capabilities well, and the highlighted lines on the board really help you track your path. There are 3 different AIs and 3 different rule sets for you to explore, which is a really fun way to expand replayability. There is an interactive tutorial that will show you the basics, but the rules are not accessible in the app. You can play up to 8 people in Pass and Play, or you can play online by connecting with Facebook or Google, which I know some people hate Facebook, but this does allow for cross-platform play. I find games that can be described as elegant make some of the best board game apps, and such is the case with Tsuro. This app implementation is beautiful, well thought out, and fun to play. It's iOS only right now, but Android is coming soon, so I'm happy to say that Tsuro is an app I can tell everyone they should try.
Modern Gaming Pedagogue, take 362. I am the very model of a modern gaming pedagogue, but rather than the digital I focus on the analog. I promise that if you heed my illuminating monologue, you'll add at least another title to your gaming catalogue. From Carcassonne to Power Grid, I know the best of strategy. Banana Macho is my choice for humorous dexterity. I'll help you out with any kind of clean or dirty party games, but possibly be happiest if you would like to learn code names. And if you're having trouble telling Pen to go from Scotland Yard, I'll be there in a jiffy to make sure that no one's off their guard. In short, if you would like to open up a learning dialogue, I am the very model of a modern gaming pedagogue. I'd recommend a game for you based on your previous history, but if you do not have one, that is not an obstacle for me. A yearning for a type of play is quite enough to gather up a stack of games this high, which I will come along and offer up. Should you wish for something fast, I always recommend Go Splits. Or if you want a pattern game, then play through 3 rounds of Qubits. If cogitation is your thing, then you should try Mysterium. For a 15-hour game, why not pick up Twilight Imperium? If all you've ever played is Trouble, Guess Who and Monopoly, then don't worry, there's lovely games to start off with at REZ. And soon enough you'll find that all your knowledge leaves your friends agog. You'll be the very model of a modern gaming pedagogue. Some tips and tricks to help you get your friends into this world of ours. Just start off simple and you'll find that soon enough you're raising bars. With time and patience you will see that no game is impregnable, but get to know it first so your teach is still intelligible. Catan, Ticket to Ride and Patchwork are all great to start you off, and then you'll find a little more complexity will soon kick off. Should jargon get you down, then please don't give in to despondency. I'll help you differentiate a meeple from a D20. And thus endeth the lesson for today, but if your favourite game did not appear in this lyric, then fear not, brevity's to blame. For on and on I could go, but I won't, so here's the epilogue. I am the very model of a modern gaming pedagogue. Nailed it.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Folks, I appreciate you watching the show each week, and I appreciate all the different contributors. They have been doing a fantastic job, and it's always good to hear all the different things that they have. Don't forget, Dice Tower Cruise. Don't forget, we are about to go into convention season, so keep an eye out. We have some cool things coming for you this week, and hopefully as each week goes on, we've hired our video editor, and we'll be talking a little bit more about him and such as he comes into places. There'll be about a month's transition in there. Live Q&A today at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.